Can you hear me? Maybe. Hello, everybody. So, yesterday I did, this is like an update from yesterday. So, I did farmer's market yesterday, and oh my gosh, it was like so hot outside. I nearly passed out when I got upstairs. I just collapsed like on my couch and I was just sweating all over and my heart was pounding and I literally could feel my head like pounding. I don't know if I had a heat stroke or if I was just dehydrated, but I came upstairs, dropped my bag, dropped my water, and I just fell on the couch and I just laid there. I thought I heard my little nephew, maybe. I just heard something downstairs. Now it's really quiet. Okay. So anyways, I collapsed on the couch and I just laid there and I was just breathing like so heavy. And I'm like, I'm never doing that again. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how people treat me. I am not sitting outside in the 90-degree weather ready to freaking like pass out. This Saturday is supposed to be 91 again. And I probably won't even do it. If the temperature goes down, then yes, I will do farmer's market, but I don't know, my body just can't handle the heat at all. So, and it was so hot, I didn't sell any books. I mean, I had people come up and look at them, but no one bought them, and I was totally okay with that because I just wanted to get home and get in the air conditioning. So, if the weather was as bad as it was yesterday, this Saturday, I'm not doing farmer's market. Nope, I'm not doing it. I don't know how African people handle it. I honestly really don't. I guess they've been doing that for a long time, that they're just used to it. But anyways, I remember as a kid when I was little, I used to complain about the heat a lot. And I would just make excuses to go in the house where the air conditioning was. And I would always get told to get back out there and get those green beans picked. And I hated picking green beans. Hated it with a passion. So today, we will be reading chapter 13. So yesterday, Olivia was in her classroom. And she kept seeing this blonde-haired boy. And she's never met him or seen him before. And then Gina calls her and asks her and says, you know, I keep seeing this boy with blonde hair. Do you have any idea who he is? So they just talked about it. And now I'm going to be reading from Madison's point of view. So this chapter I'm really interested reading. So here we go, chapter 13. Okay. The trash can next to the bed overflowed with tissues. Madison faced the window and couldn't bear to hide the harsh reality without the brother she grew up with. Holding tears back wasn't easy. Blocking out the image of Keegan was hard. Her mom, sound asleep on the other side of the bed, slept calmly. What would life be without Keegan? No more fights or arguing. Who's right or who's wrong. It's not that she enjoyed fighting with him, but that's all they ever did as kids. But now she realized how much she would miss him. She thought of all the times when Keegan had it rough as a little boy, stepping on a nail while Mom and Dad were building the new deck in the backyard, while Madison played in the grass. Another time, Keegan rode his 3-wheel tricycle backwards off the porch deck and hit his head on a rock. And she couldn't forget about that time he fell into a ditch where fire ants covered his body. Yes, he had it rough. Footsteps crept past the bed. She opened her eyes and didn't move. Who was that? The maid? I thought the door was shut and locked. Madison felt a cold chill grasp both her feet. She yanked her feet under the blankets, gripping the sheets. She checked the room to see who it was. A feeling overcame her like she wasn't alone in the room. Of course, her mom was sound asleep, but something didn't seem right. Staring ahead, something caught her vision to the right. In those passing seconds, the feeling of being scared and curious collided all at once. She slowly turned her head, and there sat a figure of a person on the edge of the other bed, with their head tipped down. It was a white haze in the shape of a person. She flinched and stared without blinking, not knowing what to do or say. The figure didn't move or speak. It stayed in the same spot. Within a blink of an eye, it disappeared. She rolled over towards the window, pulling the covers past her head and squeezing her eyes shut. They grew heavy within moments. In her dreams, she stood outside in the same place like last time. The two little girls took off through the woods as Madison followed them. They came to a house and stopped. They stood there staring at it, the taller girl holding the other girl's hand. A door slammed shut, startling Madison. She turned back around and saw the dark shadows crawling towards her. She held her arms out, taking quick steps back and yelling, "Stay away from me, don't come near me." Her voice echoed and grew loud, like it was on a stereo speaker. The shadows reached out toward her until suddenly she woke up and gasped a large breath of air, then bolted up in bed with heavy breathing. The moonlight flooded the room. Dogs barked at every car that drove by. The sound of frogs and crickets were known. A gentle cold breeze trailed into the room, cooling Madison off. She laid there with sweat on her forehead and chest. Thank God that was just a dream. What's going on? Why am I having these dreams? The next morning, Madison didn't see her mom in the room. She got up and saw a note on the table. She rubbed her eyes and picked the letter up. I went to the store to grab a few things, and then I'll be back soon. Love, Mom. Once Madison picked out a t-shirt and a pair of jeans, she walked into the bathroom and started to shower. After finishing, she got dressed and walked into the room. She came to a stop and was speechless. A white piece of paper placed on the bed caught her attention. Where did that come from? Maybe the maid left it. Madison didn't hear the door open or hear footsteps. It wasn't her mom because she was at the store getting food. Walking over with a small towel in her hand, drying her hair, she sat down next to it and picked it up. I'm always with you and Mom, no matter what. Love, Keegan. Madison covered her mouth as tears blurred both eyes. How can this be from him? He's dead. Well, gone. She didn't want to believe it was from Keegan. Was he trying to get my attention? Maybe that was him on the edge of the bed last night. The door to the room opened. Her mom stepped in, then closed it. Her eyes still puffy and sore looking. A tissue poked out of her pocket. Like all moms, she noticed something was wrong. She set the bag of food and her purse down on the table. What's wrong? She pulled the used tissues from her pocket and dropped them in the trash. Madison held the letter up. Her mom took it and read it. She looked back at Madison with shock. I think he was here when I was in the shower. And maybe last night. Last night? Yeah, I didn't tell you, but I saw somebody sitting on the edge of the bed last night. I didn't know who it was because I couldn't make out the figure, but now I think it was him. Her mom wrapped both arms around Madison and held her close, gripping the note. Seeing that note made Madison's day a whole lot better. She didn't have to be sad or unhappy anymore. Keegan came through and had seen the both of them. She stared back at Madison. The principal called me and said you can take the next 2 weeks off until things cool down. Madison didn't know if she felt happy about that or not. She didn't want to face anyone yet, but she didn't want to hide out either, like she was guilty of something. She knew everyone would think she had done this. Well, they might regardless of whether she was in school or not. After she fixed herself a bowl of oatmeal with raspberries and blueberries in it, she stayed in the hotel and did nothing but laid on the bed and watched TV. Even at the hotel, there wasn't anything good on. She heard a knock at the door. It was probably the maid. She set the remote down and walked over to the door, pulled the chain over, and opened it. It wasn't the maid. It was a person she hadn't seen in a while. A friend she used to talk to all the time. He wore a black t-shirt tight against his six-pack. She had always felt attracted to this guy. His short, dirty blonde hair and icy blue eyes were something she loved. It was Richie, Terrence's older brother. Richie? Their eyes met for a brief second. He was still handsome and as appealing as the last time she saw him. It had been a long time since she heard this name, as he always called her that. Hi. She opened the door more and stepped out. How have you been? It's been forever. Yes, it has. He looked past her as if to see if someone else was in the room. My mom isn't here. She had to do a few errands. He smiled. Are you busy? She shook her head with a grin. Do you want to go for a short walk down by the lake? I would love that. She grabbed her thin jacket and slipped a pair of sandals on and closed the door. Once they made it down to the lake, where the fresh grass and salty water remained in the air, they sat on the black bench. A few birds dove down and settled on the water. A patch of green trees stood in the background. A small concrete trail circled the area for runners and bikers. Madison sat quietly and still, not knowing what to say or do after so many years. Last time she saw him was when she was being put in the back of a van with a straight jacket on. For a while it was silent. She didn't know what to say, and he probably didn't either. Can I ask you something? He finally said. Sure, she said quietly. Are you still mad at me? No, she chuckled. I'm not mad. Keegan should have kept his mouth shut, and you wouldn't have punched him in the first place. I forgive you. Well, that's Keegan for you. He had to have the last word. Richie leaned back and looked at her again. I'm sorry about your brother. I couldn't imagine. Thank you. I miss him a lot. It grew quiet again, but this time not for long. So how was rehab? Are you done now? Madison knew how much Richie had struggled with drinking. It all started when he entered high school and hung around the wrong crowd of people. Once the drinking took over his life, he wasn't the Richie she had remembered. He was like a stranger on the street, lost in the dark. He stopped coming around with no explanation. Weeks and months went by without a phone call or a text. She felt like she had lost a friend. Months later, she found out by Terrence that he went to rehab to get help. She looked back at Richie and smiled. Have you went home yet? No, I wanted to see you first. Is that a bad thing? She shook her head. No. What are you doing for the rest of the day? She shrugged. I guess grief. She lowered her head, knowing Keegan was no longer with them. The thought of seeing Keegan in a casket scared her. It weighed heavy on her mind. She took a breath and sat up more with a crossed leg. How are things going besides rehab? Should she tell him about the dreams and the night she was attacked by the black fog hovering above her in bed? Maybe not right now, because he just got here. He just got back. She'd let him know at the right time, she shrugged. Nothing much. I've been in rehab for so long, and I just got back a few days ago. So nothing's changed. Someone caught Madison's attention. It was her mom. He turned around himself to see who it was. Richie, is that you? Christine. He stood up and hugged her. It's so good to see you. I wondered when you were going to come back. I missed you. How are you? I'm doing really good. I'm back from rehab now. That's so good to hear, Richie, she said, giving him another hug. Richie looked at Madison and smiled. I wanted to see Madison first. I'm going to see my family in a little bit. They'll be glad to have you back home. It was good to see you. Will we see you again? Of course you will. The three of them walked back up the small trail leading to the back of the hotel. Richie hugged the girls one last time, then got into a taxi and closed the door. Madison watched it drive off, then looked back at her mom. Dun 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 dun. Okay. So, that chapter, I totally forgot about Richie coming. So, Madison is still grieving, and I wanted to show her how much she's going to miss her brother. I wanted to show, like, her emotions and stuff, and the 3 things that I put in here were, these 3 things actually really happened to my brother in real life. He stepped on a nail. He rolled off the deck and hit his head on a rock and cracked his head open. And he fell in a ditch with fire ants. So, this character, Keegan, is not like my brother by any means. I have a real life brother, and Madison has a brother, Keegan. So, I wanted to take, like, a couple of things from my brother, like what happened to him, and just put it into the story. And when I was writing Keegan's character, I was trying really hard to think of all the crazy things that me, my brother, and my sister did when we were kids. I made a whole list, and then I just picked ones out that I thought would be perfect for Keegan's character. So, those 3 things really happened. And then, so Richie's character shows up, and I didn't even know if I wanted him to be in the story. He kind of just, like, appeared. And after I wrote the first couple of drafts, I had to go back through and make sure I didn't leave any hints out that he was gonna, pop up in the rest of the book. So, Richie's character was a lot of fun to write. I don't think he's based on anybody. I don't think. I just kind of just made him up. So, I knew I needed to have another character that Madison can, like, talk to about anything, and they grew up together and they're good friends and stuff. So, how Madison had met Richie, of course, Keegan and Terrence are good friends. So, that's how Madison met Richie. Terrence was, when Madison was younger, Terrence was over at her house with Keegan, Neve, and Horace, and I don't know, I guess he was just running late or something, and Richie went over to the house for the first time and knocked on the door, and then Madison answered it, and that's how she met Richie. So they started hanging out in 6th grade, I think. No, I'm sorry. Since they were like little kids, and I think the first time, after a couple of days of being friends, Keegan asked Terrence and these to come over and play with them, and anyways, that's how they met. So Richie's character is quite a character, throughout the book. And there's another character that I absolutely had like so much fun writing. And I don't want to like give it away just yet. I'm not really sure what it might be on chapter 16 maybe. I don't know. 16 is going to be a very interesting chapter, I just have to say. So, anyways, if you have any questions or like any comments about this chapter, you can leave them down below, and I will get to them as soon as I can. So the next reading, I have prayer meeting tonight. I need to ask if there's like something going on this Friday, because I am going to clean the church. If there is something going on this Friday, then we'll probably have to clean after church tonight. But I don't know. I seriously thought something was going on this Friday. I don't know. So if something is being planned this Friday at church, then I'll just go ahead and read chapter 14 Friday morning to just, I don't know, get it out of the way. So that I had a lot of fun reading this chapter. So I guess I'll see you guys sometime Friday. So maybe in the morning, or maybe there's not anything going on. It's just we have a lot of events, going on this month. We always have a lot of stuff going on in August. So, because that's fall and whatnot. So, anyways, thank you all so much for listening and reading along with me, and I'll see you sometime Friday. So have a good week.